What if Magdalene's power wasn't that she avoided suffering, but that she remembered herself through it? Welcome to the Magdalene Interview Series, and I'm Melissa Keenan. I have with me today Jeannine Wand. We're so excited to jump into this conversation. Several points in the green room where we're like, wait a minute, let's just get into the conversation. Before I really open up the conversation, I just want to set the stage. And if you're new with us, welcome. I created the Magdalene Interview Series to widen the conversation around Mary Magdalene, around what medicine she carried herself, what medicine that she embodies and mirrors to us today, and how we can be more whole as we approach our lives, as we approach our leadership, as we approach our spiritual journeys. And I just am feeling so honored today to have Jeannine with us. I can't wait for you to experience pieces of her story, her journey, and the medicine that she's carrying. And I just want to also extend a heartfelt invitation. I created this series in conjunction with the Magdalene retreat that I'm hosting to the south of France, September 3rd through 10th. And if this medicine is resonating with you and you know that you have remembering to do in yourself, please come be in the land with us. Shoot me a DM and we can talk more about it. And without further ado, welcome, Jeannine.
Hello. Well, thank you, Melissa. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to finally be with you.
Please introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about who you are and the work that you do.
Okay, and hopefully I can do that in a little short piece of it, right? So I am Jeannine Wand. I often say that my spiritual name is Jeannine Grace. My mother named me Jeannine Gay, and I always think, she got the G. They just said it's Grace instead. So, and there's been much grace in my life on this journey, so it makes sense. So I am a 7th generation healer. And I say that because I have the wisdom of grandmothers backing me, my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, who were all involved in healing work. Most of the work that they did that I know of, came through the church. And they discerned spirits, and they would, cast out devils, and they could lay hands on people, and miraculous healing would come. And I found that by the time I was 13, that same gift came through me. And even though I can say it in a different way, and see it that it doesn't just have to be kept within the realms of a particular church, that magnificence of what that is has spread out and anchored in my body over the years. And so I'm now able to minister outside of the church realm. And so now in my life, I have a ministry. My wife and I have one together called Temple of the Sacred Rose, where we honor not just the lineage that I carry from my church, but also the lineage that what I consider the Christed ones, the Christed beings, now where we offer and minister in ceremonial space, and do private one-on-one work. And I'm not sure what else I should say about that, but those are my basics. Is that helpful? I probably should have rehearsed better what I could say, but that's who I am. So.
Oh, that's so profound. That element of handing down of the traditions and the spiritual power, and then this, capacity to, it sounds like, deconstruct some of the pieces and keep what felt powerful and true.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I will say this also, and outside of the language of what we learn in church, I'm a medium and a channel. That's just who I am. There's no anything else to call it. I've been able to hear, to see, to do it all since I was born. And within the realms of the church, of course, it's considered prophecy. I can't even think of all the things they call it, and they don't use the term medium. But I do, because I've long since let go of the idea that, if somebody's going to be upset and they don't, it doesn't matter. But that's who I am. It doesn't make any difference. I'm a medium, and the particular type of mediumship that I've been blessed to be able to carry, I believe, through many lifetimes, is that of incorporation. And so when my work is happening, I do very much incorporate divine beings within my body. And it's a beautiful process. And Magdalene happens to be one of them that comes through. But the whole line that I consider, again, what I consider the Christed lineage, comes through my body. So it's quite beautiful.
Thank you. I want to go back to the very beginning. You had shared that you first connected to Magdalene at 13,
I did.
and that was a time of severe abuse.
Yeah.
Um, tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Just as I said a few minutes ago, I grew up in the church. I started teaching Sunday school at 13, right? And it was just this unusual thing. And I was also the odd kid out because most kids at 13 aren't going to Sunday school or, hanging out in the church. That literally was my playground. It was my way of connecting. It was also my saving grace, if you will, because the abuse I experienced growing up was pretty severe and pretty dramatic. And at 13 was when my parents had divorced. And so I got really connected in the church. I'll tell a little story about myself really quickly. I got in trouble also around that age. I don't remember what I did, something. My mom was really ticked at me. And so she, your parents punish you. You got to, you're going to lose this and you're going to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this. My mother, she had to punish me from going to church.
Oh, no, that was the only leverage. Oh, no.
She told me I couldn't go to church, Melissa. I called my grandmother. And I said, Mother, Mom says I can't go to church because I'm in trouble. She goes, what? What? And she goes, you can't. She goes, Diane, you cannot punish a child by telling them they can't go to church. And she says, Mom, she doesn't go anywhere else. Needless to say, I still got to go to my Wednesday Bible that I was banned from because I was in trouble. And I didn't do a whole lot wrong. It was during that journey, during that time, that I began to see and come into the wisdom, not deep wisdom, but this revelation about this woman who they called, said was this prostitute, right? For me, there was a connection to that. And I was like, oh, it felt like it gave me hope because if she could have been a quote unquote prostitute and still connect to God and God still love her and be with her, then the horrendous abuse I had been through meant that I could have something, that God could still love me, and that I wasn't this dirty castaway being, that there was something else there. And being, again, growing up, in Christianity, Magdalene presented that way and all these others, I didn't understand necessarily the vastness of who she was or the real connection to the mother, to the divine feminine that she carried. But it kind of get that little prick that you need for the awareness to be like, I get it. There's something else. So that began the opening to the something else, to that there must be more than this box of Christianity that I have been told this is it. This is where God's at. And so that started the journey for me, I believe, into opening much greater to Magdalene's presence. And I can fast forward a little bit. I think I was probably, I'm just trying to think here. Actually, there was another incident when I was 27, but like many years ago, and I want to say it's probably 17 or 18 years back now. And I won't tell the whole story, but I'll just say this. I was sitting in a bar at a brothel in Reno, Nevada. I had a man come in. I know that's a whole other story. That's a whole interview by itself.
No, but I don't know if you know, I live in Reno, Nevada.
Oh no, I didn't know you lived there.
We did not talk about
I didn't know that. No, I lived there for a number of years.
Oh my gosh, no way. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Got the setting.
So a man comes into the bar. I'm sitting at the bar and he tells me, he goes, you look like Mary Magdalene. And I'm like, dude, whatever. I said, maybe. He goes, no, you do. And I said, I don't know if that's true or not. Because, me at this point, I still haven't got the image of Magdalene being this, red-haired, fair-skinned, blue-eyed woman. And he said, you do. Not only do you look like her, you probably are her. And I'm going, because this is how God always does me. And I'm like going, seriously, God, I'm in a bar, in a brothel. Are we kidding here? What is it you want to tell me? Just say it, because whatever's happening, this is weird, because this doesn't happen to other people. And he goes, hold on a minute. I'm going to go to my car and get something for you. He goes out to his car. He comes back in with a crystal and says, here, this is yours. She says to give it to you. He says, I'm telling you right now, you don't know what you're talking about, and you are completely missing what it is that you're supposed to be doing. He goes, well, I won't say completely, but you don't know who you are. And you don't know what you carry. He said, I've seen Magdalene's tombs. I've been all over France and other places, and I know exactly what she looks like. I've seen her picture, and she looks like you. And I said, oh, okay. It shocked me. But you know what I did? I got my butt up and I went home, because I was like, I'm not supposed to be here, because Yeah, that was again about 17 or 18 years back. So that's my basics of my some of my Magdalene stories. I have many, many other stories in between there, but that's kind of like how my journey has gone from like 13 to my mid 40s or so with Magdalene, stuff like that happening. I'm like, oh, okay. That one did cause me to really awaken a lot more and say, okay, what is it that you want to show me, God? Because this is really very different here. This is not normal for people to some man to walk in and say, hey, basically, like Magdalene said, tap you on the shoulder and tell you carry her energy.
Oh, I love that. There's like so many layers. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta slow this down for a minute because this is one of these places that many might say that nothing divine is happening here. And then as I have gained closer proximity to sex workers and this sort of thing, I have learned a totally different story. There's a lot of sacred stuff happening there,
It's
like
so sacred. It's unbelievable.
life
People don't even understand.
the depths. It's like, I mean, yeah. So, and to have had that initial connection simply because she was falsely called, right? A
Yeah,
prostitute.
yeah.
And then to have this, like, it just, I've always been so thrilled by this idea that, like, you don't know who the angels are.
You
Like,
don't.
it could be anybody. And here you are, and here comes in this total stranger in the most unlikely place. And it's like, hey, like, oh my goodness, especially knowing that you do a lot of work around remembrance. So I wasn't going to go there quite yet, but I think we ought to.
Yeah.
Some of the work you do is around remembrance.
It
You want
is.
to do
It
that?
is. I would say literally everything that I do, you'll hear me speak it. You'll hear my wife Hillary speak it. Remembrance, divine remembrance of who we are. That I think is the key for everything. If we could stop all the bickering and all the arguing and ask our souls to simply please remember. When we start to remember, it starts to unfold, pieces and layers start to unravel. I believe we reach into what I see. We get this opening to what I see in spirit as this library. If you could think of the Akashic records, right? In spirit, it comes to me, and I've seen it and I've been there a few times. It's like this rose library, right? It's the ancient teachings of these divine beings. If we could see into there, you ask to remember and to open your books of this ancient library, right? As we remember, I see these books opening, and you begin to see, oh, I see who I am. I see where my DNA hasn't opened. I see how even this book of scriptures, wherever that book is that you're reading, these book of scriptures that I've been told to read, oh, there's a little piece in there. And it causes you to open, to remember piece by piece, little by little, as we open, as we remember. That is where I believe that is that process that I think really is the ascension process, where we bring back the parts of ourself from all the places that it's ever traveled, right? We
Mm,
often, I often tell people like to take a breath and call back pieces of their soul, right? Come into your body. People are like, well, I'm in my body because I'm standing here talking to you. Well, most of the time we aren't, unfortunately. So I will tell people we call back pieces of ourselves that have gone off for whatever reason, whether it's been because they've been hurt. Sometimes I think pieces of our soul travel off to go play. They just need to play. So they're off wherever they are, playing in the field somewhere. So as we call back those pieces of our soul and say, hey, I'm here in the now in this realm. Come with me on the journey so that we can integrate, so we can fully become one soul, one source, right? That is the remembrance. That is the awakening. That is the true connection process, if you will. That is where we are. We are all trying to get to, where we want to get to. That is the ascension. That is the connection of the self to the self again, the wholeness of the self, the remembrance of that. And as we connect to the remembrance of the self, the sacred self, that allows us then to make the connection back to the divine. And I see that place as the wholeness of the divine connecting back to the divine mother. That is the sacred union of the soul. That really is it.
mm,
Once we have hit that piece, then yes, we can attract others in and connect with another soul and create a sacred union with two souls coming together. But it really is the oneness and the wholeness, the remembrance of one soul knowing who they are. That's the divine remembrance of all of it.
I love the even if we just kind of break it down to the most simple form, like my work as a publisher is simply to help people remember the beauty and the inspiration that is in their lived experience.
Yes.
And it starts there, but it's amazing how like it's never done. Like
There we go.
always more, and it's so beautiful, and that's true for every single individual. And it was just earlier this week, I think, on this show that somebody said, it was Deidre, it was my retreat co-host on the
Yes.
Black Madonna show, where she said, I think that it's our fragmentation that has people showing up in leadership and in ways where they're doing so much harm. It's
Mhm.
being so freaking fragmented. We are so disconnected from who we really are that we're showing up and doing all kinds of nonsense. And so this work matters so much. Um,
Does. I don't think people realize how fragmented they are. I really don't. I think most people don't realize it. They have even if they have a tad bit of awareness around it. And then I think also because of the psychological component to it, when we tell people they're fragmented, they think we're saying, "Oh, you got some mental illness." That's not it. Most of us are fragmented. We are. And we the more we remember, the less fragmented we are, the more we come into that wholeness. And it's beautiful, really beautiful. The places that we're too scary of who we are, that we do fragment off. Oh, that's so scary. I don't want to know. I don't want to remember that. When it begins to come into that wholeness and the beauty, it's fascinating and truly amazing to be in it.
mm. Well, I know that you have had recently a very even public journey as you've moved through cancer. And it's been beautiful. Like we've been connected for just a couple months, but just to see how you're approaching yourself with so much grace and how you've been willing to share that with those in your community. I'm curious how that experience, shaped your relationship with your body or your spirituality, or your relationship with Mary Magdalene, whatever you want to share with us.
Yeah. So let me just think of even where to start. So yes, first of all, I, it's still unbelievable to me. I'll be a year since my diagnosis last June 17th, almost a year. And it still seems like, seriously, this happened to me, right? But yet there's still so much understanding as to the hows and whys and the purpose that was in it, right? As I come out of some of the process now and kind of my return, as I said to you. Um, and I can absolutely connect it back to Magdalene. I can absolutely connect it back to divine source, right? As to why. Um, about it's probably been a couple of years, and trust me, my wife is like, "Are you serious?" I honestly heard spirit say, "You have breast cancer." And I was like, "Whatever, you're just hearing things, Jeannine." That is
Wow.
so dumb though, by the way. Literally, I know I can hear and I know I see and I can tell things. How in the world did God say you have breast cancer? And I go, that can't be right. That's not me. I can't get breast cancer. I'm me, right? Not true. Not true. And I know that people looked at me and they're like, Jeannine got breast. How's she that? That's ridiculousness, right? On my part and other people's part, because it has nothing to do with some, oh, you're so highly called and you're this and you can. That is ego talking.
Yeah.
Anything could happen to anyone at any time.
Yep.
And what I had to realize, as I shared with you a bit, was that how I got on this journey with a very, very aggressive breast cancer. And I'm gonna tell you, like, we're talking this close to stage 4 and no treatment available, just
Whoa.
right on the edge of it. How I got there was being who I am in many ways. My overgiving,
Mm.
the constant going. I so you know that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. I got to tell you something. That's a lie. You can, and I did
Right. Right.
for at least a decade, probably longer.
Wow. And
You
how
can
many
pour
do? How many, especially as
listen,
women? Wow. 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 Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I kept pouring from the empty cup, the empty cup, the empty cup, and I never stopped to fill my own. I didn't fill my own on any level. I would drain my finances constantly to take care of others. constantly going. I just never stopped. I could hold ceremonial work and I could have 6, 7, 8 women in our temple space. And I promise they experienced miraculous life-changing things. We had people come through the space. I had a woman who had been on Prozac for 20 years sit with us one time 4 years ago, and she hasn't had an ounce of Prozac since. That is not an invitation to come off your medicine at all. Please understand that. I do want to speak clearly. That is not, because that's not what happened. We never say that. That's just what her experience was. I could see that constantly. And I would do it over and over and over again. I would have times when I was tired and I'm like, no, but somebody would call with an emergency. And I would say, okay, fine, I'll do it. And I needed to not do that. I needed to say, I understand that this is an emergency for you. And it's not that I'm not here, I am. But I needed to wait a week, 10 days, 12 days so that I can restore. I constantly poured from an empty cup. So that is how I got on that journey. And it's also, in many ways, the same journey that would ultimately save my life and wake me up more fully to the grief that still lived in my body, to the breast that I consider like the second womb space that we ignore, that we constantly, if you think about society, they're too big, they're too small, you should change them, you should do this to them. Don't do any of that. These are like sacred objects. They are sacred womb space that we don't understand. And we let people tell all these things about how they're supposed to look and all these different things. We have obviously, without me, everybody knows they've been sexualized when they are these tools of nurturing. Cover them up. What were you doing? For shame brought to us, all the things carrying that in our body, that kind of grief is how I got where I got to. And I know it and I understand it. And so through the journey over the last 10 months or so, and again, probably, I know before my official diagnosis, I went deep in spirit. I remember one night, just my wife and I sitting, and we live in our temple, in our home space. We were sitting probably 2 months or so before I was diagnosed, and this is probably one of the most intense moments I've had with Magdalene. It was beautiful, and I, don't have an explanation for it, and I stopped trying to explain things a long time ago. My wife was sitting in front of a picture that we have of Magdalene, and I came next to her to sit, and the next thing that I realized was that I was no longer using my right hand. Some of these things take me a minute, by the way, because even all the years, I'm almost 58, even all the years of doing the work. So I'm like, oh, that's what that is, right? So I'm using my left hand to do everything, all my stuff. I'm serving, I serve a medicine called tape, and I got my tipe in my hand and I'm serving with my left hand. I'm right-handed, y'all, serving with my left hand, doing everything. My wife goes, you're serving with your left hand. I go, oh, I am. Don't know why. Just, and I'm like, and then I go, oh my goodness, the left-handed side of Christ, the left-handed feminine is here. And I was like, oh, Magdalene's here, like, working through me. And it was at that point that I became aware of, Jeannine, there's something really going on with your body. And if you don't take care of it, you're going to die. It was really in that moment that I was like, oh, babe, this isn't just going to go away. This is not just a lump. This is way different than just a lump, and I can castor oil it out or, pat it out or talk to it and get it out. I needed way more. So as I went through that, we really prayed and said, God, what should we do? What needs to happen here? And we received information that it wasn't going to just leave with my natural treatment. I'd been a natural healer for 30 years. I go to the doctor once a year, maybe to get blood tests. I didn't even have a primary care doctor, and I had no insurance. That was the other part of it. And I can tell you now that I probably had $1 million in bills. Thank you, God. I got some insurance. It's been covered, because I have no idea what would have happened otherwise.
Wow.
Yeah. So through that of hearing, of asking, we had to sit and we had to decide that we were going to speak publicly, knowing that exactly what was going to happen, like hoping that people didn't go. But we had people come on when we posted the first video, literally come on and say, you're going to die. You're going to take chemotherapy. What are you thinking? You're going to die. You're going to do that. So you're supposed to be
spiritual community. Oh my God.
Yeah. Call me, get on my phone saying, oh, I heard you're only doing conventional medicine. Just the wackiness of it all. And it didn't matter, because I know when spirit speaks to me, when the divine speaks to me and speaks through me, they always tell me exactly what it is that I need to do. And so when I got the message, you will need to go through chemotherapy, it was hard and I cried and I didn't want to do it, but I knew that I needed to anchor in. So as we began to prepare my body for the journey, we made signs to go throughout throughout the room that I'd be in for the infusions. And we made them through Magdalene's line. Uh, I didn't even think about bringing someone with me that says like the Magdalene flame and things, prayers to her and prayers to the whole lineage that we posted all over the room. Every time we'd go to my treatment center, we put them up. People would walk in, and I promise this every time, they would go, do you all have essential oils or something on? It smells amazing in here. We had nothing on. You can't wear anything. They'd be like, what's going on in here? And they go, what are those signs? And we're like, oh, they're just from our spiritual tradition. And they would read. There is a treatment that I had, and please slow me down if I'm telling you too much or talking too fast.
I'm just absorbing.
Okay. Because I know it's a lot and it's limited. So there was one of the, I did 12 rounds of a particular chemotherapy, and it's huge. It was harsh. When I got to the last 4, I was like, I don't want to go. I'm tired. My body hurt. I don't want to do it. The last 4, I'm just going to say this out loud. Then we're going to cancel it out real quick. They call it's adriamycin, but they call it, everyone calls, you'll see it everywhere. They call it red devil. You'll have women, I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women say, oh, I got to take the red devil. I do not know why we don't think about what we're speaking into our bodies. It matters.
Yeah,
it matters. So I had seen that months before I even started. So I'd automatically said, I will not ever call it that. So what we got was to call it the Ruby Ray, or to call it Magdalene's Ray, right?
It's red. Oh my
so
gosh.
when we got there, when we came to that last 4 rounds, that's the signs that we had on there. And I have pictures of my wife, because I promise you, the bag is super tiny, but it's bright red. It looks like blood dripping into you. That's exactly what it looks like. And I remember the nurse coming in one day, what's she doing? Because my wife would go over and take the little bag they have off of it to cover it from the sunlight. She would lay her hands on it and speak into it, right? And speak Magdalene's name and healing into it and cover it, right? And so we called it the Ruby Ray. The Ruby Ray coming in, and that's how I received it and came through it miraculously. And I know I came through it miraculously. Even my aunt in college, she goes, Jeannine, you look really good for what you're going through. And I said, thank you. I understand that. So.
Yeah. Wow. I think there's something. So, I mean, first of all, oh gosh, yeah, there is so much in that journey.
Yeah.
It had to be such a humbling experience, like to be a healer and then to go to your community and then to need to, but also like how outrageous sometimes can we get in these spiritual pursuits. It's like you and I were talking before we went live about this, like just using our spiritual traditions to bypass this shit out of our bodies, out of our real lived experience. And I think that sometimes it occurs to me as you're talking about this, that sometimes our spiritual path, or the most aligned path we can take, means we have to take the poison.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
And that is so symbolic in so many things. And why we would ever point and judge someone for whichever type of poison life in the universe has said, this is the poison, you got to take the poison, like, is crazy to me. And
yeah.
Wow.
What I learned also was that, and this is what we got, you can alchemize anything. You can alchemize the poison. The poison becomes the medicine. It didn't need to be poison, it was the medicine.
Yeah.
So I received it and alchemized it to be the medicine.
Yep.
To release the cancerous cells from the body. The other part that people don't understand, and I will speak more about this, but it has been a tremendous 10 months and I was a little bit tired, So I wasn't able to make all the videos and come on all the time and talk. Plus, I don't think I was supposed to. I'll say more about it now. The part that we make a mistake about around the cancer journey, and you'll see it, and I won't say it because I don't want to say anything wrong, but you know that F cancer and I hate it and I'm fighting against it and they want to go. I didn't do any of that. I said, thank you for coming. Thank you for your lessons. What is it that I need to see? Thank you for showing up and telling me my body was in trouble. Because my intention is to live past about 107 years. And the way I was going, I didn't have 50 more years in me. Yeah. Right? I didn't have it. But I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I thanked it for coming. When we sit, and I think this is a lot of things in the spirit realm, sometimes, so many times I will say, we start to curse things I curse it, in the name of Jesus. I curse it with this and I curse it with that. Well, maybe you should back up, because I had to back up. The cancer cells in your body, they're your cells. Your cells are in there.
Right.
So when you're sitting there cursing, 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 I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, this thing and that thing, and calling it all these bad names, you're cursing yourself.
Mm.
And I never did that, not once.
I think that that really ties in. One of the elements that Magdalene has really brought through for me is a reframe around sin.
Mhm.
And this reminds me of that in that way, that it's like when I started to, open up my perspective and see these different reflections from Magdalene, it was like nothing is actually like bad or wrong, or whatever. Everything is asking to be healed, asking misunderstood, asking to be understood deeper, asking to be leaned into with compassion and love and grace, and sometimes suffering or whatever it is. And so I love that, because yeah, like when we, even I recently heard this definition of the word demon, that was something about emotion. I want to say it was Latin or something, and I was like, oh, how fascinating. Like
Right.
only we as humans would like label our emotions, to the point that it becomes this whole embodied thing that's so wicked and scary and awful. And when really it's just something begging for some
Begging
love.
for love and attention, and that's what I found. I would say that even as you bring up the idea, of demons and the emotions and stuff, I believe that even when you read again scriptures, to me, there's value in them, and there's some things I know that have been switched, convoluted, and changed a zillion times, and so I have to really present it how it comes through for me. When you look at the passage of the Bible where it speaks of what we believe to be Magdalene and Yeshua and him casting these 7 demons out of her. I don't believe that that's actually what they were. I believe it was an opening of the what we see as the first chakras, the first 7 layers of that, and him helping to open that. I truly believe that this woman walked hand in hand with Yeshua, that they were each other's counterparts, not some like, and she was back here and oh, this woman, she, he had to save her, all the stuff we hear. I believe all of that is so that we as carriers of the divine feminine, right? Men carry it too, but as these particular embodied women, that it is just to keep us from our actual power. And all the times where we go around cursing ourselves or thinking everything is a sin, all the things they'll tell us is sin. Because it took me a long time when I came out of the church to stop being scared, right? Especially growing up Pentecostal. Everything's a little scary. Everything's a demon, right?
Yeah.
And so it took me a long, long, long time to come out of the fear of sinning, right? Oh, I could be sinning, and then what's going to happen to me when I die if I'm sinning? To come out of that fear and to really look around and embrace and see how many things were really the same from my church growing up to what I was seeing in the spirit realm. You just put a different label on it. And just because I'm doing it this way doesn't make it evil, doesn't make it sin. And to learn that, to understand that, to learn our sexuality is not sin, even though we are taught that,
Thank
constantly taught that.
goodness.
They say, oh, Christ never sinned. He didn't have any, he did never touched a woman. He wasn't nothing sexual about him. That then says that sexuality is wrong. And that's just not the truth.
Mm.
Sexuality it's like the divine power rising up in the body, right? When we learn how to open to it, to see it, to, I don't want to say use it properly because that's not the greatest word, but to understand the connection. I don't have another word right now. I do apologize. That is like a huge lie that sucks our power away. And the same goes for, and I'm going to say this gently, the same goes for these spaces that are supposedly acting on some spiritual level, that act as if they sexuality where, and I don't know if you've seen this and been in those spaces, but where the sexuality is like constantly telling you to open on a spirit level, open, 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 open on a spirit level. That also is a problem, right? Because it's the same thing. It offers the same thing where it's draining the spirituality. And I won't use the word that sometimes they use, but when you get into spiritual space and they're like, just open, 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 get your womb space open, open, open. It's the same thing. It's a draining of spirituality. It is a draining of your divine resource. When in spaces, and again, it's going to be what it's be. I see it a lot in spiritual circles. I've been around a long time where they see that the more partners you have, if I'm polyamorous, I'm this, then I'm more spiritual than you. That is also a lie that drains you spiritually. That
Right.
drains you spiritually. You're just given. It's the same thing. You just be wherever. It's not that it's sin. It's just that it's just not the truth. Your womb space, your portal. I always say that and when we look at the pelvic, when we look at the pelvic floor in the realm, the outer realms of our body, this area here is like the vestibule of the church,
Mm.
the vestibule, the inner corners. That when we keep opening it up, if you're at the church, it doesn't just keep allowing everybody into the vessel, into the temple space. We are taught through some of these spiritual groups, oh, just open your womb space and be there. And that's where all the beauty is. And that's where you'll attract all the magic and you'll have so much money. I think it's a siphoning of our energy. I think it's a siphoning of it. And we just are unaware of it. And it's sad because we're really seeking to get a hold of our spirituality and we're seeking to remember. But I believe that some of the same energetics that causes us to close off, oh, and if I have sex, I've sinned against God, be like this, is the same energy that causes us to be open. And either way, it's siphoning and taking our energy away.
And yeah, and in my experience with all of this, that the most important thing you can do is find out what is in your alignment. And like the more that we really come in tune with that inner yes and that full body yes and that full body no, that is your perfect, and that work is also never over. But that is
No.
your perfect way of showing up. And it'll look different for everyone.
Well,
And
for each person.
that's great, right? Like,
I hope I didn't step on any toes there, but I hope I said what I was trying to say correctly. So I was
wow.
trying to say it really graciously, not to, use certain words, but I'm like, okay, all of it to me, when we go to one extreme or the other, and we are told this is how it has to be, and this is the only way, that is just draining our power. There is something incredibly beautiful about us when we understand the sacredness of our womb. And again, I believe the breasts are a second womb space, the sacredness of our bodies, and all that comes through it, the magic that we hold. When I see people and I work with people and I see the what I call the activation fully turning on, like what I consider the 13 stranded Christ DNA, Melissa, the magic is just there. The remembrance is there. We let go of the fear of other people's judgments and somebody saying, you can only do it this way or that way, or, something's going to get us if we do it like this. When we really get a hold of that and we turn on our magic, and activate that DNA that lives, I believe, within each of us. I could be wrong. Maybe only a few of us, carry the Christ DNA, but I don't think it's just a few of us. I think all humans carry it, that it's there to be there, to activate it, to understand it, to come into an awareness. And I do believe that is the lineage that Magdalene held. I believe that lineage was passed down not just through beings like Mother Mary and Isis. There is a whole line that comes through that practices it, that knew it. I believe a lot of the I work with the African Orishas. You'll walk through our house, our temple space. I've got there. You'll see Imanjah over here and Oshun a little ways down, and a few other beings. All of those to me come through as the Christ lineage. That to me is Magdalene's lineage. I believe that Magdalene was not just Magdalene herself, but there were many Magdalenes. I think it was an ancient order, an ancient school that was actually there. And that right now that presence is asking us to come back to that, to understand, to know that the truth of everything that is here on the earth, no matter what we're going through, no matter what our backgrounds, when we return to that center place of knowing and understanding divine love, that is the remembrance, that is how we heal, that is how we bring people into the oneness, that's how we shed these ideas of racism and indifference and war and all the other things that we are suffering through right now.
There it is. I feel like, we'll just take a deep breath in that. So much beauty has been spoken in this today. And I'm like, I can't believe how fast the time has flown. We had more things to talk about. I think we could have talked for a long time.
We could, yeah.
I feel so grateful, that you've come on, that you've had the journey that you've had, that you came through. I mean, this is so recent to come on to the other side. And I also want to like commend you and point out how well you took care of yourself, because we had to reschedule this.
Yeah, we did.
You were like, I'm not as rested as I want to be in order to, show up the way that I want to. And so you're learning too. So like, good job.
Good job. Good job, Jeannine.
Yeah. Oh, this has been so rich. Thank you for coming on and
Thank
sharing
you so
your
much,
medicine
Melissa.
with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been really a privilege and such an honor to spend the time with you. I'd love to spend more time with you and to get to know you better. Yeah.
Absolutely. Me as well. And thanks to those of you who have joined in and watched with us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, or you can also reach out to either of us through direct message, or I've got Jeannine's links in the description above. And so do go give her a follow and check out, like, it's been beautiful and so like, I felt so drawn in as you've been, vulnerable with this part of your journey and everything. It's just so powerful, and just appreciate how you continue to shine in your magic and in your wisdom and the wisdom of your ancestors. Like, it's so powerful. Something that Magdalene has really taught me is that we each carry different medicine, and we each carry different spiritual traditions and lineages. And for me, a huge message that she has said to me is like, how do we honor that? How do we really honor that? And I feel like you spoke to that so beautifully in this element of remembrance and just celebrating the shit out of each person as we take our difference.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that.
All right. All right, my friends. We'll see you again next time on the Magdalene Interview Series. Bye for now.
Bye.